Find out how Kelly Kennedy, the CEO of Capital Business Development, helps his customers win on this edition of Your Customer Wins. Welcome to Your Customer Wins, where I examine how customers win when they use the products and services of outstanding companies from around the world. My name is Gordon Sheppard. Today's company is Capital Business Development, which is run by CEO Kelly Kennedy. Capital Business Development helps clients to consistently get the right prospects into their pipeline so they can close more sales and become more profitable. Today's customer is Colin Harms, the president of Hypervac Technologies, an industrial manufacturing company in Lethbridge, Alberta. In this interview, you'll hear how Colin wins when he works with Kelly. For example, Kelly helped Colin to put in a customer tracking system. He also helped Colin to shift his mindset from transactional to being a relationship builder, which has paid off big time, especially at trade shows. The result? Business is up, and now Colin and his partners can optimize future business development opportunities. I also want to let you know that this interview follows a specific format that I created called The Anatomy of a Win to help you learn the strategy, work plan, people, operations, and results behind every customer win. It is a proven structure, and it will help you to really understand your customers so you can grow your business. And now here's Colin Harms talking about how he wins when he works with Kelly Kennedy at Capital Business Development. Colin, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Gordon.
You are a customer of Kelly Kennedy, and we're here today to talk about how Kelly Kennedy helps you to win. But just to set the stage for just a second, if people didn't know you and your role and the company that he helps you win with, can you please explain those things, briefly, just to get us started?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Colin Harms from Lethbridge, Alberta. I'm the president and business development manager of Hypervac Technologies. We are a leader in North America in the air vac not duct cleaning, but duct manufacturing business.
And that's what you do. And so you came into that, you're in that ownership position. There's a before Kelly and after Kelly state. Right before, you had a problem and you were trying to solve it. Eventually, Kelly helped you to solve it. But how would you describe the problem that you were trying to solve before you met him?
Sure. We had a bowl of no systems. We had an empty bowl and we needed to mix it up, make a salad, if you will, with all these. We had the ingredients, but we had no idea how to put them all together.
You buy the business and it's cash flowing. You're good to go. There's no systems and processes in place. This is our pre-Kelly moment.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment where you start to get in touch with him and he starts to influence you. What was the biggest problem that he helped you to solve initially? And how did that whole process get started by meeting him, and what happened?
Yeah, the number one thing he did was help me. And, when he helped me, it helped our entire organization, is started to plan, right? And we segmented the planning, what we needed to do. We put timelines to it. And, we also put what we wanted the result to be at the end of it. So we wanted to be able to test and measure.
So the biggest win that he got you was helping you to plan. Would that be a good way to phrase it?
Yes.
And then somewhere in there, the systems and processes he influenced as well along the way. That's great. So one of the things I'd like to jump into here is what I call the anatomy of a win. So the win was Kelly helped you learn how to plan. How did that influence the strategy, work plan, people, operations, and results, if we talk about the anatomy of a win, in your company? So helping you to plan, how did that influence your strategy, your vision, your mission, your goals? How did that influence them?
Yeah, I believe the biggest influence was giving us the ability to know where we were headed. We knew what we were going for. We were able to put markers out there and go and achieve them. And if we didn't achieve them, know why we didn't achieve them, right? Did we need to throw them to the side? Did we need to, refresh and reboot and start over? Or what are we even doing on a day-to-day basis?
And what's an example of a specific that he was able to give you in that area that you're mentioning?
It was probably on the sales end, because without the revenue, we really don't have cash, let alone cash flow. So we were what it enabled us to do was put a sales team together, and all of my sales team is remote, with the exception of me being the guiding light, if you will. That brought us together as a cohesive team, being able to have them work remote, have confidence that they were responding to customers, they were doing what we needed to do, and not only responding to customers, that's part of it. Reaching out and finding new customers was a big part of it.
And that's the business development piece that he specializes in, right? So you didn't have
Yes,
systems, you didn't have planning, right? You didn't have this sort of ability of the team in place, and he's influencing all of those things
that's
probably
right.
in a pretty rapid amount of time. Because the second step when we talk about the anatomy of win, there's, that's helping you strategically to get all those things in place, is that we need a work plan. So from the time that you met him to the time you were executing and getting some results, what's that timeline look like in your experience?
Oh man, like this is no joke. Like we started implementing within a week, and I started seeing like I know people go like, "What?" No, when you have no plan, the one sentence on a foolscap, no one will know what foolscap is. You might, Gord. On a foolscap sheet of paper, that's a plan. When you didn't have one, you just need one line and go after it and challenge it, because you don't need an encyclopedia. You just need one thing and cross it off and keep adding underneath of that.
And it sounds like Kelly was able to give you that one thing or the next thing, right? So how did you learn from Kelly? What
That's
sort of
right.
combination of things?
Yeah, I learned through he knew he understands the process of business development. So he would drop strategic bombs, I guess you will, right? He would ask questions, he would know where you're at, and he would know when you need the next one. Right? It was kind of like the follow me, I'm right behind you. He knew exactly how to follow it up and the stage you need to be at. And he didn't push you out there so far that you couldn't do it. Right? It's not one of those things where like, let's do a corporate forecast. We know this is exactly where we get. So let's just up it to here, right? To keep pushing, because that's not real. He knew, hey, these are real players in this situation. Let's be real.
Interesting. And so we've got this sort of how he influenced your strategy, which means you didn't have a strategy, you didn't have a plan, you didn't have the systems, all those things. In a sense, he influenced that. He influences your timeline because you're up and running in a week. I before
Yeah.
Kelly, I'm doing what I'm doing, but actually when I meet him within a week, he's starting to then drip feed me the bombs, the strategic, the
Yeah.
winning sort of bombs I need to kind of move things forward. And you're taking
Yeah.
action. Pretty neat. And so so that's strategy work plan. Anytime we have a win, there are people involved. So key player here is Kelly. How would you describe Kelly and his attitude in helping you to get the win?
I think his attitude encompasses empathy. He really has an innate ability to get into your business or into my head and know exactly what we're doing or how we're thinking. And I think if you're hiring a coach or I'm hiring a coach, that's what I want, right? Like whether it's a sports team or a business environment, you have to understand every player in the game. If you don't, how the heck are you going to make plays?
So he's
And
able to
that's
get into
where,
your head in the right way, in a
yeah,
sense. And then how did it influence, I'm going to say, your mindset, your behavior? How did he sort of impact those things?
I think like it's a new confidence is what it did. It built me up, and he gave me, or maybe a belief system, right? I call it the BS, right? He gave me a belief system that we can get to the next step, right? He never once pulled back and said, whoa, 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 that's wrong, right? He doesn't use those words. And I don't know how he does that. Like it's an amazing thing. He coaches.
Interesting. So Kelly's in there and he's got his flavor that you're describing. How would you describe yourself
Yep.
and your own attitude before Kelly and after
Oh,
Kelly?
okay. Yeah, easy. Before, very confident, but confident in a different way. Now, post coaching and still coaching, I'm confident in a way that I can speak to a different level of people or a different criteria, like who I'm reaching out to. I have a different confidence knowing what I know, right? You know what you know. And that's what I know is who we were, why we're here, what our purpose is, and what we can do for you. That was the big one, is gave me that. Also gave me the ability to go to my partners, um, knowing what I know, right? This is why we're going to do it. Like if I said, hey, this is the direction we need to move in, obviously what is a business partner going to say? Why? Why do you feel that way? Right? Like back it up, justify it. I have no problem justifying it. I have no problem picking up the phone. That may be the biggest one too, is if you're in an industry you've never been in before, the phone is ringing and you have no idea what question they're going to ask. We haven't been in the trenches with them. We this is not our background, although people are our background, right? And situations we can work through them. That's what we could do post Kelly, right? Answer
And
the
that's because
phone.
Kelly was able to help you dig deeper in
That's
your
right.
business. I'm going to say it because the fourth step in the anatomy of a win is operationally, what impact did Kelly have on you? And I'm going to suggest there are things in business development, tools, the CRM is there, the SOPs are there. There's sort of marketing assets that have to go into business development. How did Kelly help you to operationalize those assets? And please give me an example of a moment in time where you took those out to market.
Sure. So I'll use brochures, as simple as that. Maybe like, let's go back to, and this is where my mindset was. I was like, we're going to go back to 1980 and start printing brochures. Um, there was a printing place on the every strip mall had a copy place, right? And you'd go print brochures or clip art, right? You put a little Colin in the corner. Um, so we're going to do that. Where he helped me was he says, okay, you go do them. This, you know what you need on them. I don't. And then he goes, send them to me and I'll critique them. Oh, so he's going to mark the test, right? But not in a negative way. Like there's no F's, right? There's no failing. It's how can I help you? Because he understands what the other side of the desk is looking for. And that was the one, right? Nailed it. Nailed it. Like not, I'm not saying we produced this beautiful brochure right out of the gate. We didn't. He helped us get to the beautiful brochure.
And that's asking questions about, the product. It's helping
yes,
you to go deeper on understanding yourself. It's helping you to go deeper in understanding the customer mentality. Is that
that's right.
fair?
And part of it was teaching who to go to, like who's going to give us, who's looking for it, right? We're like, oh, I want to sell to this franchise who has 600 locations. Why are you trying to go to the top? That person's not even dealing with it, right? We need to go to this level or to this level. That was the key is really honing our skills on who, what, where, why, and when, the 5 W's, I guess, right?
And I know before we jumped on the call, you talked about being able to go to a specific trade show. And
Yes.
there's again, how did Kelly help you get ready for going there, and what was the result?
So that's a great question. It's called the North American uh, NADCA, North American Duck Cleaners Association. So when we went through the border, I remember Homeland Security asking, where are you going? What's it for? And when I said North American Duck Cleaners Association, he thought we were talking about hunting. Duck, not duck. And then he looked and he said, well, that sounds exciting. Right. But when we went, the fear was there, the animosity was there. They're not going to accept us. Right. One, we're a Canadian company, Canadian manufacturer, going into that one was in Denver. And so we were fearful. What are we going to do? You know what? Right from the first conversation, he equipped us. He said, when you go there, when you go to a trade show, you're not selling. And I said, no, we are. We are selling. That's what we have to do. That's what we do. We go there and we sell. He said, you're not selling. You're there to meet people. That's all you're there to meet people. Meet people. The product will sell itself. And you know what? We did.
What was the result from that trade show?
Yeah, phenomenal. Like we sold, I think it was 16 or 17 trucks in a few hours.
But you
And
weren't
the
there to.
relate,
But Kelly said you weren't there to sell. Like he
yeah,
said,
and
like so that's a mindset shift. If I'm going to
yeah,
make the effort, I'm getting all these things together. I'm going down. I'm spending the money on the
yeah,
booth. I of course I want sales, but
yeah,
he gave you a different mindset.
yeah. And I'll even give you an example. I think that first show cost us about 50,000 US to be in for 2 days, and then we were like, okay, this better be good. How do I not sell? I have to. How do I tell my partners we're not here to sell? Right? We're not there to sell. And that works even to today. My one business partner and I are traveling in the next month, and we're going to strategic shows, not as an exhibit. We're going to meet people on the other end. And Kelly said, hey, you got to go meet people. You're going to be on the opposite side of the booth with your business card. And you're also going to be a set of eyes looking around. Wow, what are people talking about? Or sorry, hearing and seeing. What are they looking at? What are they talking about? How do we differentiate? And that's another thing Kelly taught us, right? The coach in the corner said, go there and look and listen.
And that takes more patience than most people want to have, for example. But Kelly, again, knows that this approach works. We got into the initial win was saying you think he helped you with planning. Obviously, we've heard that he helped you with a lot more because there's so many different things that he's done with you along the way, whether it's mindset shift, tools, suggestions. Also, you can hear that his experience is bleeding through here. He must have been in many different environments to be able to give this type of advice at those subtle levels. And I love that nuancy one about I'm standing at the trade show, look around. That's a really, I just love that you said that because that speaks to those type of Michael Jordan type finishes that we're talking about here, where it's like he would know the release of his, index finger on the ball from a certain angle. Like they get it down to that level of subtlety. So we can hear the coaching level that he's taking you through. We talked through the anatomy of the win, the strategy people, strategy, work plan people, operations. Finally, there's results. The results, I would say, are tangible and intangible in a sense, right? In terms of what we're talking about.
Yep.
We've talked about some of the direct results, the dollars, number of units sold in one moment in time. Can you talk about maybe some of the indirect or the other things that are not necessarily data driven?
Sure. I would say the indirect is listening to friends, colleagues, other people, people I've met through LinkedIn, such as yourself, even. They make comments, and we know not too cocky, but we know we've arrived. We know we've got to that level. We always joke or not joke, but talk about what if one day we're acquired? Why would we be acquired? That type of thing. Well, nobody's going to acquire a company or go after a company if there's nothing there, right? And now we hear, like, I guess I'll call it chatter in the market, right? We did have one competitor said straight to my face at a show, "Wow, you guys are a volume builder, and we just like to build 4 or 5 a year." And I said, well, say that to Jeff Bezos and see what he says back, right? I guess I'd rather be in Bezos's place. But we don't want to water down what we do, and we don't want to dilute the quality, right? We want to actually ramp it up and be one of the models that it was stuck in my head from the day we bought this business. I said, we want to be the Airstream of this industry. And people said, well, what does that mean? I said, well, you tell me. I said, how is it that an Airstream RV that was built in 1974 has appreciated to 2025, and they're selling these things for 4 times more than they were built for, right? What I meant by that is we want to be recognized as there's this, and then there's this. That's who we are.
And
right?
how does Kelly help you to do that?
I asked him, I said, Kelly, I want to be a separator, right? I don't want to be a disruptor, right? I don't think I need to disrupt a market, right? Because maybe there's nothing wrong, right? But if I can separate ourselves from the pack, I think that's the win. And he's working with me on that to be different than the rest.
Interesting. If you had one sentence to say about why somebody should hire Kelly, or maybe a couple, what would it be?
Maybe a couple. You should hire Kelly Kennedy because he actually cares about what you're doing.
If people needed to get in touch with you because they want to vet someone who's worked with Kelly, would that be okay? And if so, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very open to any phone call, 403-308-3308. And those are very lucky numbers, apparently. 3s and 8s. And also Colin at hypervac.com.
Fantastic. Well, I think, for anybody that's sort of thinking about learning about why they should work with Kelly Kennedy and the wins that he can get for you and your company, we've heard a ton here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Kelly and how he's helped you.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Consistency over time, relationships over transactions, and talk to the right person at a company to improve your chances of making the sale. That is how Kelly Kennedy helps his customers win every day. If you'd like to get in touch with Kelly, then visit capitalbd.ca. You can also listen to his award-winning Capital Business Development podcast to get the inspiration and practical tips that you need to grow your business development efforts. Visit businessdevelopmentpodcast.ca to learn more. If you'd like to get in touch with Colin Harms at Hypervac Technologies, then visit hypervac.com. And if you have a customer that you would like me to interview to find out how they get their wins when they use your products and services, then get in touch at gord@executivewins.com or visit executivewins.com/your customer wins.